Hi all, my name's Matt Delaney and I'm one of the physios at Malvern Physiotherapy Clinic. So we've got a first video here in our series talking about common injuries in triathletes and runners. So today I'm going to be talking to you about common foot injuries that we see coming through the door. Now I've spent a bit of time riding, running, swimming, and it's given me a bit of an understanding into the mindset of a triathlete and a runner. And I've also had to deal with my own fair share of foot injuries as well. So I think I can relate to a level on a few of these things that we'll talk about. And hopefully we can give you guys some useful information and tips on how to manage and get through if you have already been suffering with a couple of these. Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about is the two most common foot injuries. And that normally we see is going to be either a plantar fasciopathy or an Achilles tendinopathy. Now your plantar fasciopathy comes from your plantar fascia. This is a thick structure that sits on the bottom of your foot and it runs from your heel down here up onto your metatarsals here, so just below kind of your toe bones. Now this structure sits along the base of your foot and it also helps support that arch on the inside here. Conversely, we're thinking of your Achilles tendon, which sits on the back. This runs down from your calf muscle all the way down here and attaches onto the base of your heel there. Now as a team, they work really nicely to absorb the force when you're running along. And instead you kind of also get from your plantar fascia that support of the medial arch of your foot as well. So if we're thinking injury to these two structures, it tends to be from an overload or overuse perspective. And that normally comes about through an error in your training load. So we either see a big spike in your training volume, so you either, increase the distance you're doing really quickly, or you've increased the intensity of a lot of your workouts, or the other thing we can see is inconsistent training where you're kind of up and down with how much you're doing, and either of those can just increase your risk of developing those conditions. Okay, so when it comes to managing these conditions or reducing your risk, we want to ensure that you're maintaining a well-balanced and consistent training program, as well as you're building up the strength and resiliency of those tissues around your foot and around your calf. So we're thinking, yes, your calf muscles, but then also further up the train, so your quads, your hamstrings, and your glutes as well. Okay, so if we're nice and strong from top to bottom, you're reducing as much risk as you can, and you're building a lot of resiliency and strengthening those tissues to cope with the running loads that you're putting it through. Now, it's also important to remember that when you are strengthening these muscles, in particular your calves, that you've selected the right exercises or you've been given the right exercises to fit the stage of rehab that you're in, because you want it to be challenging enough and tough enough that you're going to stimulate muscle growth, improve your strength, and improve that in tendon. We're thinking like the elasticity or the plyometric capacity of that tendon as well. So it all depends on where you're at in your rehab, but it is important to know that when you are running, your Achilles tendon's going to take around 6 times your body weight worth of force when you're running through each step. So we need to ensure that your rehab exercises are challenging enough and they're in line with the amount of force that those muscles and tendons need to withstand. Okay? So if you feel like you're needing help with your training program or your foot and ankle pain's getting in the way of your training, it's stopping you, come see one of us at Malvern Physio Clinic and we'll definitely get you moving in the right direction. Or, on the other side of things, if you're feeling great, your training's all going really well and you're not having too many problems, but you just want to take that next step, come in, have a chat with one of the physios and we can get you over to the Return Pilates studio and just add in those couple of little things that'll see you getting great results in your training program as well. Thanks, guys.